The day was supposed to be perfect. My daughter's 6th birthday, the one I'd been planning for months, with color-coordinated decorations, a backyard tent, custom cupcakes, and a magician who charged more than my wedding photographer. I didn't care. She deserved magic, especially after the chaos of the last year. I wanted her to feel loved, celebrated, whole. Mark arrived late. Of course he did. He walked into the backyard with a gift bag too small to matter and a smile too bright to trust. He brushed a kiss against our daughter's forehead and then turned to me with that practiced charm, the kind that had worked on me once but now felt used, stretched thin like a rehearsed script. "You look great," he said. I ignored him. "You're an hour late." He shrugged, giving me the same excuse he always did. Work ran long. Work. His favorite lie. Before I could respond, my daughter squealed and ran toward the gate. "Mommy, look. More guests." I turned. 3 people were walking into the backyard, 2 women and a little boy around 4 years old. I didn't recognize them. They looked out of place among the neighbors and our daughter's school friends. The older woman clutched a wrapped present. The younger one held the boy's hand protectively. They walked straight toward Mark. Before I understood what was happening, the boy let go of the woman's hand and sprinted toward him. "Daddy." Time froze. Completely. Utterly. Catastrophically. The word daddy hung in the air like a gunshot, silencing the chatter, freezing the magician mid-trick, making my daughter look up in confusion. Mark's face drained of color. His hands instinctively reached out, not stopping the boy, not denying him, touching him with familiarity. The crowd murmured. I stood still. Not shocked. Not numb. Something worse. Recognition. Because deep down, pieces of the puzzle I'd been ignoring for years suddenly clicked into place. Before I could speak, the younger woman rushed forward. I'm so sorry," she said, her voice shaking. "He doesn't understand boundaries yet." I forced a smile, the kind that hides a blade. "Boundaries?" Mark stepped between us. "Let's go inside." "No," I said, loud enough that the backyard fell silent again. "We're having this conversation right here." His jaw tensed. "Not now." "Now," I said, "is the perfect time." The guests stared. Some pretended not to. But nobody moved. I looked at the boy, then at the younger woman. "Who are you?" She swallowed. "My name is Kara." "And the boy?" She opened her mouth, but Mark beat her to it. He's my son." The sound that left my throat wasn't quite a gasp, wasn't quite a scream. It was a sound I'd never made before, a mix of realization and betrayal sharpened into something metallic. My daughter looked up at him. "Daddy, you have another kid?" Mark reached for her, but she stepped back, confused and afraid. Something inside me snapped. "How old is he?" I asked Kara. She hesitated. 4. 4. For years ago, I was in bed rest while pregnant. For years ago, Mark had been traveling for work more than usual. For years ago, Patricia told me I should be grateful her son stayed with me at all. I finally understood what she meant. I looked at Mark. "Does your mother know?" His silence was the answer. Of course Patricia knew. Of course she did. And she hid it like she hid everything else. Like she hid every red flag I ever sensed but never had proof of. Before I could speak again, the older woman stepped forward, kind-looking, grandmotherly, eyes full of apology. "I insisted we come," she said. "I wanted my grandson to see his father's family." Family. The word made my stomach twist. Kara didn't want to cause trouble, the woman continued. "But Mark promised, he promised he'd tell you." Kara whispered, "He said after your daughter's birthday." "But his mom, she said waiting was better." My voice dropped. "Patricia told you to keep it a secret?" Kara nodded. "That was it." The fuse hit the match. I turned to Mark. How many secrets are there? He looked at the ground. Kara, I said. Tell me the truth. I'll know if you lie. Her voice broke. There's another. The world tilted again. Another, what? Another pause. Another knife. Another child, she whispered. He's 9. 9 years old. 9. 9 years of lies. 9 years of deception. 9 years where Mark built an entire second life behind my back. I felt my hands go cold. My daughter clung to my arm. Mommy, what's happening? I knelt to her level. Honey, none of this is your fault. You are perfect. You are loved. She nodded, tears filling her eyes. Then she said something that split the world open. Why does Daddy have other kids but not live with them? Mark broke. Sweetheart. No, I said sharply. Don't talk to her. He flinched. I stood. Kara, I said. Where's the 9-year-old? Her eyes filled with regret. He's with his mom. She didn't want to come. Is she at least in the picture? I asked. Kara hesitated. Mark whispered, don't. I stepped closer. Is she involved with him? Kara nodded. Yes. The final blow landed. Not one woman. 2. Maybe more. Mark had an entire additional family tree growing in the dark like mold. The magician, in a moment of terrible comedic timing, popped a balloon behind us. Everyone jumped. I stared at Mark. Get out. He blinked. What? You heard me. Get out. We should talk. There is nothing left to discuss, I said. You had a child. And another child. And God knows what else. And you hid all of it while raising a daughter with me. You don't get forgiveness. You get consequences. He tried to step closer. Please, don't do this in front of everyone. You did this in front of everyone, I snapped. I'm just responding. Guests slowly gathered their things, pretending they needed to leave, but everyone was listening. Mark whispered, can we at least go inside? No, I said. Because I want you to understand something in front of witnesses. I leaned in. This house? This life? This family? You lost it today. Permanently. His mouth fell open. And Mark? He swallowed. Yes? The part you should fear isn't what I say now. He looked confused. It's what I do next. He left. Shame dragging behind him like a broken tail. The backyard slowly emptied until it was just me, my daughter, and the fading remnants of a ruined celebration. The pink balloons looked pathetic now, sagging like wilted fruit. The cupcakes were untouched. The magician packed his things silently. My daughter whispered, Mommy, is Daddy coming back? I picked her up and held her close. No, sweetheart. She cried softly into my shoulder. And I decided right then. This wasn't going to be a story about what Mark did. This was going to be a story about what I did after. Because the birthday bombshell wasn't the real twist. The real twist. The one that would destroy Patricia, crush Mark, and end every lie they ever built. Was still waiting. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, I would start dropping bombs of my own. The morning after the birthday disaster felt like waking up inside the ruins of a house she didn't know had burned down. The decorations still hung in the living room, the streamers limp, the balloons sagging, the blue happy birthday banner mocking me from the wall. My daughter was asleep on the couch, curled in a blanket, her little face still stained with dried tears. I moved quietly, not wanting to wake her, though the truth was I didn't want to speak yet. Words felt too fragile for the truth they'd carry. My phone buzzed. Mark. I stared at the screen until it went dark. He called again. And again. Then a message. We need to talk. Please. Talk? No. We were way past talking. I made coffee instead, hands steady, mind sharper than it had been in months. Betrayal has a way of burning away every illusion, leaving behind nothing but cold truth and survival instinct. At 8:14 a.m., there was a knock at my door. Not Mark, he wouldn't dare show up uninvited. I opened it to find Patricia standing on my porch like she owned the oxygen around her. Wearing pearls. Perfectly brushed hair. Eyes full of the false compassion of a woman who'd rehearsed her performance in the mirror. "Good morning," she said, stepping past me without waiting for permission. I closed the door slowly. "What are you doing here?" She turned, her smile thin and patronizing. "I heard there was an incident last night." "An incident," I repeated. "That's one word for it." "I'm sure this can all be handled quietly," she said. "No need to make a scene." I crossed my arms. "You mean like the scene you helped create?" Her jaw twitched. "Now, let's not start pointing fingers. You told Kara to keep the boy a secret." Patricia hesitated. Mark wasn't ready. "Mark wasn't ready to admit he has multiple children with multiple women," I said. "Is that what you're defending?" Her eyes hardened. "You don't understand. Mark made mistakes, but he was overwhelmed. You were so focused on your career, your ambition." "Stop," I said. "Before you embarrass yourself further." She blinked, stunned that I'd interrupted her. No one interrupted Patricia. That alone told me who she thought she was dealing with, not me, but the version of me she preferred, quiet, polite, forgiving. "You encouraged him," I said. "You covered for him. You lied for him. You hid his children. You let my daughter grow up believing she was the only one." Patricia raised her chin. "I did what was best for my son." "No," I said, stepping closer. "You did what made you feel powerful." Her nostrils flared. "Those other children, they weren't planned." "They weren't." "They're kids," I snapped. "They're innocent. And you treated them like stains." She turned away, flustered. "You're being dramatic." I almost laughed. "Patricia, your son showed up at my daughter's birthday party and got called daddy by a 4-year-old. Drama is the only language left." She pursed her lips. "Well, if you're thinking of divorce." "I'm not thinking," I said. "I'm doing." She stiffened. "You will ruin everything." "Everything," I said, "is already ruined." She took a slow breath, then said the sentence only a delusional matriarch would say. "You need to consider the family legacy." I stared at her. "You mean the legacy that includes a hidden 9-year-old, a hidden 4-year-old, and a daughter who watched her father's secret life show up unannounced?" Patricia's eyes flickered. For the first time, she looked nervous. "Good." I leaned closer. "Tell me something, Patricia. Are there more?" She blinked. "More what?" I kept my voice low and lethal. "More children." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence told me everything. I whispered, "How many secrets are buried under your name?" Patricia finally broke. "I tried to protect my family." "No," I said. "You protected Mark from consequences. And because of that, you created a man who lied, cheated, and built parallel families." She swallowed, her throat bobbing. "You're going to destroy him." "No," I said. "He did that himself. I'm just documenting it." She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Like she expected weakness. Forgiveness. Fear. She didn't realize that the woman she thought she could control died the moment that little boy ran into the backyard. The strong one survived. Patricia straightened. "Well, I came to offer peace. But if you're choosing war." "I'm not choosing war," I said, opening the door. "I'm ending it." She stepped outside slowly, her face pale. As she reached the porch steps, I added, "Tell Mark he should hire a lawyer." She froze. "I'm filing today." She turned. "Please, don't do this." "You should have thought of that 4 years ago," I said, "when your son created the first secret child." Her face contorted, anger, fear, denial all crashing into one another. I closed the door before she could respond. My daughter woke up an hour later, rubbing her eyes. "Mommy, where's Daddy?" I knelt beside her. "Honey, Daddy needs to figure out some things." "Will he come home?" "Not for a while." She nodded slowly, as if her small heart understood more than mine did. I kissed her forehead. "We're going to be okay." She climbed into my lap and whispered, "Can I still have cake from yesterday?" I smiled softly. "Yes, baby. You can have all the cake you want." She didn't understand the weight of her own sentence. She didn't know that what she asked for, cake after chaos, would become a symbol of the life we were about to build. One where sweetness returned after all the rot was scraped out. At noon, I walked into Rachel's office with every document, message, and clue Patricia accidentally exposed through her arrogance. Rachel glanced at the stack. "That looks promising." "Patricia is cracking," I said. Rachel smirked. "Good. Crack enough, and the truth spills through." "I think there might be more children," I said. Rachel didn't even flinch. "Wouldn't surprise me." "What do we do?" "We dig," she said, pulling out her laptop. "Financial records, travel history, social media cross-referencing. Men who juggle families always leave digital crumbs." Saturday, let's start." For the next 2 hours, we traced Mark's last 10 years like forensic surgeons. Every trip. Every unexplained charge. Every weekend with the guys. Every late night call Patricia dismissed as work stress. Then Rachel froze. "Oh, my God." "What?" She turned the screen toward me. "A birth certificate. A 5-year-old girl. Listed father, Mark Ellison. Mother, unknown. But the emergency contact? Patricia Ellison." My heart stopped. Patricia had registered herself as next of kin for a secret grandchild. Rachel whispered, "This wasn't Mark's affair." I understood instantly. "This," I said slowly, "was Patricia's doing." "She hid the child," Rachel said. "From everyone." A cold wave spread across my spine. Because finally, it all made sense. Patricia didn't just cover the lies. She curated them. Nurtured them. Protected them. Fed them. The 4-year-old and 9-year-old were Mark's mess. But the 5-year-old? That was Patricia's secret. Her control. Her leverage. Her weapon. My voice broke into a whisper. "Rachel." Patricia hid an entire child. Rachel leaned back. "This isn't a divorce case anymore. This is a dynasty collapse." I exhaled slowly, letting the truth settle. "So what now?" Rachel smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. "Now," she said, "we burn the dynasty." And for the first time since the birthday party, I felt something powerful rising inside me. Not rage. Not grief. Not fear. Control. The kind no one could take away again. Tomorrow, Patricia would learn exactly what happens when a woman like me stops being quiet. And Mark? He would finally see his mother for what she was. The real architect of his downfall. And I would be there to watch the whole thing crumble. By the time I left Rachel's office that afternoon, the world looked different. Not because the sun was setting or because the streets felt colder, but because I finally understood the scope of the empire Patricia had been building behind everyone's back. Not an empire of money, an empire of secrets. And like all empires built on lies, this one was about to crumble under the weight of its own rot. I drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel the way you hold on to truth you're not ready to release yet. My daughter was at a friend's house, blissfully unaware of the storm gathering above all our heads. I needed her out of the blast radius. Because what was coming next wouldn't be a quiet takedown, it would be a controlled demolition. Mark was waiting on the porch when I pulled in. He stood when he saw me, shoulders slumped, eyes hollow, looking like a man who wanted redemption but didn't know how to spell it. "We need to talk," he said. "That's funny," I replied, walking past him. "You needed to talk years ago." He followed me inside. "Please. Just listen." I turned, raising an eyebrow. "About which child, Mark? The 4-year-old? The 9-year-old? Or?" His face shifted instantly, fear, confusion, guilt, panic all twisting together. "Or the 5-year-old your mother hid from you?" His mouth fell open. "What? What 5-year-old? Ah." So he didn't know. For one fraction of a second, pity flickered in my chest, but only a flicker. Mark had earned every consequence that was coming. I walked into the living room and threw the birth certificate onto the coffee table. It slid across the wood like a blade. He stared at it. Then at me. I don't understand," he whispered. "Neither did I said. Until this morning." He picked it up with shaking hands. His eyes darted across the page. Father, Mark Ellison. Mother, unknown. Emergency contact, Patricia Ellison. He whispered, "She lied to me." "You lie to me," I said. "Seems like a family tradition." "I didn't know about this one," he said, voice cracking. "Congratulations," I said coldly. "Your mother did." I watched the truth rip through him. It was visible, his entire posture collapsed like a building losing its foundation. He ran a trembling hand through his hair. "I need to talk to her." "You will," I said. "But not alone." He blinked. "Why?" "Because she's been controlling your life since the day you were born," I said. "And she's not going to let you confront her without twisting the knife." He swallowed. "I can't believe she hid a child." "She didn't hide a child," I corrected. "She hid leverage." He sat heavily on the couch. "What do we do?" "We?" I repeated. "There is no we, Mark." He looked up with desperate eyes. "But you're helping me." "No," I said firmly. "I'm using you." He flinched. "For what?" "To destroy Patricia's kingdom." His breath caught. What does that mean?" I leaned in, slow and deliberate. "It means you're going to tell your mother we're coming over. Tonight. And she won't suspect anything. Because you'll sound scared, confused, broken." He swallowed. "Like I am." "Exactly." His hand shook as he pulled out his phone. "Put it on speaker," I said. He dialed. Patricia answered on the second ring. Her voice honeyed and poisonous. "Sweetheart? Are you okay?" Mark closed his eyes. "Mom, we need to talk." Her tone sharpened instantly. "About what?" "About everything." A pause. "A dangerous one." Then, "Come over. Now." He hung up. I grabbed my keys. "Let's go." Patricia's house looked exactly the same as it always had, perfectly trimmed hedges, white shutters, ceramic angels on the porch, symbols of a woman who obsessed over image but cared nothing for truth. As we walked to the door, Mark's breathing quickened. "You're not alone," I said. "I feel alone," he whispered. "That's because your mother raised you to depend on her," I said. Tonight, we cut the cord. Patricia opened the door before we knocked. Her smile was tense. Controlled. Dangerous. "Come in," she said stiffly, eyeing me like I was tracking dirt into her perfect home. We stepped inside. The familiar smell of lavender and bleach hit me, the scent of perfection at any cost. Mark didn't sit. He stood rigid, gripping the birth certificate like it was burning his skin. Patricia noticed. "What's that?" "You tell me," he said, voice cracking. She froze when she saw the document. Where did you get that?" "Answer him," I said. Her eyes darted between us. "It's not what it looks like." "It looks," I said, "like you hid a child from your own son." She glared at me. "This is a family matter." I stepped closer. "I am family. At least for the next 48 hours. Patricia turned to Mark. "Sweetheart, listen to me." "No," he said. "You listen." Her eyes widened. He'd never raised his voice to her before. I knew it. She knew it. "You lied to me," he said. "For years. You let me walk around thinking I had 2 kids, when I had 3. You made decisions about my life without telling me. You kept people from me. You hid a child, Mom." "He wasn't safe," she whispered. Mark recoiled. "What?" Patricia wrung her hands. "His mother, she was unstable. I had to protect him. And I had to protect you from the stress." I stared at her in disbelief. "So instead of helping your son be a father, you erased an entire human being?" Her voice rose. "I did what was best." "For who?" I pressed. "For Mark? Or for you?" She glared at me. "You don't understand how fragile he is." Mark sank into a chair. "I'm not fragile. I'm ignorant. There's a difference." She looked legitimately wounded. "I did everything for you." "No," he said. "You did everything to control me." Silence. Raw. Exposed. Unrecoverable. I stepped forward, my voice soft but sharp. "Patricia, how many lies have you told in the name of protection?" She didn't answer. Of course she didn't. Mark whispered, "Are there more kids?" The question drained the last bit of color from Patricia's face. I inhaled sharply. "There are more." Her silence was confirmation. Mark covered his face, shaking. "Oh God." Patricia lunged forward. "Sweetheart, please." I blocked her path. "Don't touch him. You don't get to dictate anything in this house," she snapped. I smiled. "Patricia, you lost control the minute that 4-year-old yelled daddy in my backyard." The venom in her eyes could have poisoned an ocean. She whispered, "You're destroying my family." "No," I said. "I'm freeing your son from the chokehold you call motherhood." She gasped. Mark whispered, "Mom. I can't trust you." Tears filled her eyes. Not the manipulative ones, real ones. The kind people cry when control slips through their fingers. She reached for him. "Please. You're all I have." He stepped back. And that was the exact moment Patricia shattered. I could almost hear it. A soft, brittle crack. I gently placed a hand on Mark's arm. "Let's go." He nodded. As we walked out, Patricia's sobs echoed behind us, not the aristocratic sniffles she used for attention. These were primal. Messy. Terrified. Because for the first time in her life, she had no audience to fool. No pawn to manipulate. No dynasty to rule. Just consequences. In the car, Mark stared silently at the dashboard, breathing unevenly. Finally, he whispered, "Everything I thought I knew is gone." "Good," I said. "Now you can rebuild." "With you?" he asked, voice trembling. I looked out the window. "With yourself," I said. He nodded slowly. And something shifted inside him, something that looked like a man finally waking up after years of sleepwalking. I took a deep breath. "Tomorrow," I said, "we file." Mark closed his eyes. "Okay." But he didn't know the part one didn't say out loud. Tomorrow, I wasn't just filing for divorce. Tomorrow, I was exposing the dynasty. And Patricia Ellison? She was about to learn exactly how dangerous a woman becomes once she stops forgiving. By the next morning, I wasn't the same woman who had decorated pink cupcakes and tied ribbons the day before. Something in me had sharpened, clarity mixed with fury, purpose mixed with strategy. Not emotional chaos, not heartbreak, not despair. Strategy. Cold, precise, and unstoppable. I woke my daughter gently, got her dressed, packed her lunch, and kissed her forehead before walking her to school. She held my hand tighter than usual, as if sensing a shift in the universe. And maybe she did. Children always do. When I dropped her off, she asked softly, "Mommy, are we going to be okay?" I knelt and held her face. "We're going to be better than okay." She smiled, trusting me the way children instinctively trust the parent who doesn't lie. When she disappeared through the school doors, I exhaled and turned toward the car. Today was the day everything changed. Rachel was already waiting in the courthouse lobby, seated like a queen at her throne of legal files. She wore black, intentional, I assumed. Funereal. Fitting. "You ready to bury a dynasty?" she asked. "More than ready," I said. She slid a folder toward me. Custody petition, divorce filing, financial misconduct claim, request for protective order, and formal notice to investigate hidden minors. And the evidence? Rachel smirked. "Everything's in order. Patricia has no idea what's coming." We walked toward courtroom 3B, ironically the same room where Patricia had once tried to embarrass me years earlier, claiming I was difficult, uncooperative, too focused on career. Today, those walls would witness her destruction. Inside, Mark sat at the respondent's table, shoulders curved inward, eyes hollow. He looked at me like a man begging for something he didn't deserve. I didn't sit beside him. I sat alone. Patricia entered next, pearls on, blazer immaculate, lipstick perfect, but her hands trembled so visibly she had to grip her purse to steady them. When she saw me, her nostrils flared, and she walked in as though she could still command the room. But she couldn't. Not today. Behind her came someone unexpected. Kara. Holding the hand of the 4-year-old boy. Behind them, another woman, the mother of the 9-year-old. And behind her, a middle-aged woman I didn't recognize, until Rachel whispered. "That's the mother of the 5-year-old. Patricia saw them and went pale, like the floor had vanished beneath her feet. She mouthed, "No. No. No." But they came anyway, filling the benches, clustering together like a line of ghosts resurrected for Judgment Day. Patricia turned to Mark, desperate. "You didn't tell." Mark whispered, voice cracking, "I didn't." "She found them." Patricia stared at me with pure terror. "You brought them here?" "Yes," I said calmly. "You kept them hidden." "I brought them into the light." She shook her head violently. "You don't understand what you're doing. You're destroying this family." "No," I said. "You destroyed it years ago. I'm just revealing the body." The judge entered. "All rise." We stood. He looked over the courtroom, immediately sensing tension so thick it could be cut with steel. He glanced at the cluster of women and children behind us. His eyebrows lifted, but he said nothing yet. "Be seated." We sat. "Mrs. Ellison," he said to me. "You filed several motions this morning. Care to explain the urgency?" "Yes, Your Honor," Rachel said, rising. "What my client discovered yesterday and today constitutes severe marital deception, financial misconduct, hidden dependence, and emotional harm to a minor child." "Hidden dependence," the judge repeated. Rachel turned slightly and gestured to the row behind us. The judge's eyes widened a fraction. "All of them?" Rachel nodded. "All of them." A buzz rippled through the courtroom. Patricia shot to her feet. "This is a circus. These women are lying." The judge banged his gavel. "Mrs. Ellison, sit down." She sat, but her breathing was ragged. Rachel continued, evidence will show that Mark Ellison fathered at least 3 children outside his marriage. 2 of them he knew about. One of them, she let the words hang, his mother concealed. The judge turned sharply toward Patricia. Concealed? Patricia stuttered. I did not. Rachel handed him the birth certificate. Emergency contact, Patricia Ellison. No father listed because she prevented any acknowledgement. Birth records link back to her address. The judge's face darkened. This is serious. Mark whispered, Mom, why? Patricia grabbed his hand. I did it for you. Mark pulled away like her touch burned. Rachel wasn't done. Your Honor, not only did Patricia conceal a minor child, she coordinated financial transfers, coached deceptive behavior, and facilitated the affair that resulted in one of these children. Gasps. Soft cries from the women behind us. Patricia's face cracked. The judge leaned forward. Mrs. Ellison, what do you have to say for yourself? Patricia tried to speak, but the words tangled in her throat. I just wanted to protect my son. By hiding children from him? The judge asked. By orchestrating an affair? By withholding parentage from the biological father? Patricia broke. He wasn't ready. He was a full-grown man, the judge snapped. Not a toddler. Mark's eyes filled with tears, not the manipulative kind, but the devastating kind. Mom, he whispered, you ruined my life. Patricia sobbed, reaching for him again. I saved you. He jerked away. Rachel rose. Your Honor, my client seeks immediate temporary full custody of her daughter, sole decision-making rights, exclusive occupancy of the marital home, and financial protection against further misconduct. The judge nodded. All reasonable. Patricia gasped. You can't do this. I can, the judge said. And I will. He signed the order. Just like that. Years of Patricia's power, gone. But I wasn't finished. Rachel handed the judge one final document. Your Honor, we are also requesting a court-appointed guardian to determine whether Mark Ellison is capable of establishing safe parental relationships with any of the children involved, given the extent of deception and emotional instability. Mark froze. Wait, what does that mean? It means, Rachel said, your ability to be around your own daughter will be evaluated by a professional. Mark turned to me with devastation. Please, don't do this. I looked him dead in the eyes. You already did it. He broke, covering his face with shaking hands. Patricia screamed. Actually screamed. You're destroying my son. I stood slowly. No, I said. I'm setting him free. Silence. Heavy. Reverent. Complete. The judge banged the gavel. Order granted. Court adjourned. As people began to shuffle out, Patricia collapsed into a chair, shaking, sobbing uncontrollably. The women behind us gathered their children, each casting her a look, not of malice, but of clarity. They finally saw who had stolen years from them. Mark didn't move. I walked toward him. He lifted his red, broken eyes. I never wanted this. You wanted lies, I said. And lies never stay small. He whispered, can we ever fix this? No, I said. But you can rebuild yourself. That's your job now. He nodded weakly. I turned toward the door. Patricia called out, voice cracked and raw, please, please don't take everything. I looked back at her one last time. I didn't take anything, I said softly. I just stopped covering the things you hid. And I walked out of the courtroom with the kind of power no one can fake. The kind earned by surviving fire. The kind that leaves a dynasty in ashes behind you. And for the first time since the birthday party, I whispered to myself,